What's going on, everyone? Gonna do a Rome 2 faction kind of tier list for the Cup of Nations. But I'll also take this opportunity just to talk about the different factions, what I think is good about them, kind of builds that I think would be strong, and also just as a good opportunity to look at the rules for every faction, and in here the likely updates for the factions. None of this is confirmed, but I'm gonna assume that these are all gonna be true, because that will help me rate the different factions. And I have a tier list here for the factions that personally I would want. So maybe this isn't what everyone would want, but yeah, it'll still be roughly what I think people should try to want, but obviously it depends on your playstyle and what kind of units you like and what factions you like as well. So I think we'll just go faction by faction. I'm not going to go through the reserves since this is about factions that I would want. I can always pick a reserve, so that doesn't really matter. I wouldn't want any of these factions anyway. They all kind of suck. So that's kind of good. We'll start here at the top with RDAI. So go into the game. Actually, no. First, we should look at the rules for RDAI. So this is one of the factions that's going to change. Um, the main thing that's going to change for RDA is not 11 infantry. This is crazy. I don't know why we decided to do 11 infantry for RDA. One of the most infantry-heavy factions in the entire game. Like, they have shitty melee cav and Tarentines, and some shitty slingers and stuff. They need a lot of infantry. So absolutely they should get 12, if not more. I think 12 is probably balanced, though. And then we'll keep 5 save and 5 melee, because RDA is not a faction that takes a lot of melee anyway. Like, I was thinking maybe we can give them 4 save, 6 melee, but I think 5 same gives them the option to take 5 hoplites, which is pretty nice. Maybe 5 marines against cav factions or something. Not that they would necessarily want to do that anyway, but yeah, I think 5 and 5. The only thing you would almost never take 4 axes and 2 Celtics or something, so I don't think that's really a big loss. 5 save gives you a bit more flexibility. And so RDA, usual build. I mean, this is the build that always gets taken, and this wasn't allowed last year, which is what I thought. Like, RDA is, I mean, obviously NCR Ranger won that one Cup of Nations, and played quite well, but I think, like, in general, they're a pretty mid faction. They can beat some factions. They have obvious weaknesses against Cav, so, yeah, in general, if you play well with them, the combinations of the 4 Noble Hoplites and the 4 Axe Warriors is quite strong. And then the 4 Marines are a really good, nice supporting unit. They're actually quite good at melee. They have a high charge bonus for a spear, and high attack as well. Actually, yeah, not a great charge bonus. More about the attack. 36 attack is quite good, higher than each of these units you can see. But a decent charge at 22, nothing special, but nothing too bad. So yeah, this is the usual base of your army, and then depending on what you're facing, you would maybe change other units. So Peltis are an option. Cav. The typical one is to go 3 slingers here. The slave slingers are quite good because they have a high block chance. I think it's like 50% or something. So they don't kill much because they have low damage. They don't have good armor, anything else, but the block chance just means they can absorb missiles, so they can take a missile war. And of course, you have very, very tanky units in the noble hoplites with their 115 armor, 65 health, 65 armor, 55 health on the axe warriors is quite good for a cheap unit. 65 armor, 50 health is okay for the Illyrian Marines. A unit that would generally get focused fired anyway. So you have a very tanky core. 3 Tarentines, very nice in the Jav Cav department. Illyrian Cav. I just want to make sure they do have 3 melee Cav, or missile Cav, sorry. Illyrian Cav is actually not terrible because it's medium and it's very cheap. 460. Obviously, it's not going to get you many kills, but it can block charges and stuff, so that can be useful. Another way to go is to go Peltis. If you do this, maybe you end up going for Celtics here. Get 4 Celtics, pretty clean. Or you go for, like, you know, Thurio Spears, and then you can go for some Axe Warriors. Maybe I can get one Marine. Thurio Spears are good, but obviously they don't have any killing power, which really relies, so you'll be relying on your Peltis more. This would maybe be an army against Cav or something. The other option is to go 5 Hoplites, and then whatever, maybe 4 Axe Warriors, 3 Marines, and then maybe you go for like 4 Slingers. And you're kind of running out of money here, obviously, so maybe you're going for, you know, something like this, whatever. Even potentially this. Or if you really want, do something like that. So 5 hoplites means you have a lot, really good infantry power. These hoplites are very, very strong, just straight up really strong unit. Obviously, you're gonna struggle against elite swords as well. Factions like Getai, Nervi, that can spam like 4 oaths or 3 oaths or something. Will really just, I mean, if you can tie down the Marines, it's real tough to defeat that kind of thing. But you do have the quality for RDA and their melee is that everything can fight. You know, the hoplites are good, the Marines are a good support unit with the javelins, plus they can fight in melee, and then your swords or axes also quite good. So you get a lot of good melee units. Pretty poor support outside the Tarantines, and just the fact that you don't have any sort of good mid-tier swords is a problem, and your cav sucks. But RDA, a pretty strong faction. I would probably rate them in the not too happy category for myself, though. I just think that they they basically are just too stagnant. Their armies always look the same. You don't have a lot of options for how to play them. But I wouldn't. It would probably be high on the not too happy. It might be in the take it or leave it, but I'll leave it as not too happy for now. Just because they're kind of boring and Cav is always nice, but not a terrible faction in general. Next faction up is Araki. So 5 same, 12 infantry, 7 melee, 4 missile cav, which you would really take. No special rules changes expected for Arvasi. A good faction. Arvaki is nice because you can take a lot of melee. I mean, that's just good. What, 5 same? Yeah, 5 same and 7 melee means you can take a combination of Painted Warriors and Scutaria at your discretion. Both are very good. Painted Warriors have Scare, which is nice. Frenzy charge, high weapon damage when you use Frenzy, or high charge as well. Good melee attack. Scutarii, a bit more armor, a bit more survivability. So, a good combination of units there. Noble Fighters, wouldn't really take them in general. Wouldn't take Iberian Swords when you can take 7 melee. And the Celt-Iberian Cav are another really good unit. They're only medium, unfortunately, but in terms of melee capabilities, they're really, really good. High charge, high attack, 15 bonus versus large. Really good defense for a Cav unit, and you can see that even better than the Noble Cav. So that's really nice. Decent health armor, I mean, it's fine, nothing really great, but if you compare it to, for example, a heavy horse, the only 42 melee defense, 60 armor, 90 health, only 80 health but higher defense, lower armor, but 40 attack and 44 charge against the heavy horse, 42 attack, but only 39 charge. So heavy horse a bit better. But these Celt-Iberian Cav, for the cost, are very, very good in melee, especially. Not really good on the charge in terms of their mass, but in melee they actually will do quite well. Very nice unit. Noble Cav, one of the best melee Cav units in the game. And then you can just take, either Balearics, regular slingers, and then you can bring, if you need to bring some Jav Cav, you can do that. And maybe I would, I can't quite go, sorry, make sure. But anyway, a lot of options available here. Yeah, just go with the Balearics, yeah. Like, this is a very good army. 3 Balearics. Balearics are probably one of the best missile unit in the game. Good Cav force, Jav Cav. You don't need Jav Cav, don't take them. These Cantabrian Cav are really bad because they just cost so much. You do have 41 missile damage, but they're just so expensive for what you get that it's not really worth it. So if you don't need to take Jav Cav, maybe an extra spear is good. But you can always kite, you can rush. Super good options for Arvaki. They can take a heavy Cav with like multiple noble Cav and stuff. So pretty good options overall. Only biggest problem I would say is the fact they don't have good Jav Cav, which makes it annoying. But overall, good sword core. You can bring a lot of swords. You have good missiles and good Cav. So overall, a very good faction. Say they would suffer against good Cav factions again though, because their Celt-Iberians are just medium. So against heavy Cav, Cataphracts, things like that. They, even like Lancers, like heavy Lancers, stuff like that, they will suffer. These guys will die on the charge to them. But you do make up for it with good missiles and heavy sword spam. The best sword spam in the game, I think, on CoN. So that's pretty nice. And you can't bring Noble Fighter as well. Just it's a big target with only 75 armor. But a good unit still can cut through things pretty quick. So if you don't want to spend so much money on Balearics, then just bring Noble Fighters. Getai Spear is a decent mid-tier option as well. So I'd put Arvasi probably in the take it or leave it. Not the best faction, but certainly fine, and it would be okay to have it. Armenia next. Very interesting rules. 12 infantry, 5 melee plus a hillman, 2 cataphracts max including HA, and 11 foot missiles and cav combined. So Armenia, in general, your army, you don't want to take any of these general options, so your general pretty much has to be a cataphract, which means you can only take one more cata. But the good thing is you do have really good other cav options. You can take Persian cav, which are very heavy, which is very nice. Um, Obviously weak against missiles compared to a cataphract, but at least it's shock cav with very heavy mass, which means it does a lot of damage on the charge. Um, Cappadocian's the best mid-tier melee cav in the game. And Persian cav also, so good cav options there, even Noble Blood cav, basically slightly weak Cappadocian, but still a very good unit. Um, yeah, overall, you're not really losing much by taking the Noble Blood. Then you have good horse archer options. You're never going to take the noble horse archers because you have 2 cataphracts, so pretty much you're going to be taking regular horse archers, maybe armored horse archers. You could, I mean, yeah, you just can't, maybe you would take 1 noble horse archer instead of a cataphract in some matchups, but I don't really see that being very likely a possibility. And then you're just going to have, remember that there's 11 cav plus foot missiles, so if you take this, you can only take 4 slingers, but 4 slingers is absolutely fine. Maybe some matchups you take 1 less horse archer, you go 5 slingers, or 4 slingers and archer, I guess, because it's 4 same for Armenia. So yeah, I would almost never do this, I guess. This is pretty standard cav force. Some matchups you'll take a little bit less, maybe you take 1 less Cappadocian or Persian cav, whatever. Then your core is going to be Cartley Axeman. Again, you can get 5 melee infantry plus 1 hillman. So probably like this. Maybe even this. Axemen are really shit, but because you can only take 4 Cartley, maybe you can just take an Axeman and then just spam Eastern Spearmen. Like this would be like almost certainly your typical army. I don't think there's much else you can do. I don't think you can't really spend the money on something else here, like in this situation, so you almost might as well bring this. I don't think there's very few other builds. This might become a noble blood or something in some armies. Sometimes you might take armored horse archers. I guess that's the only way you can spend more money, just by going armored. And then, I don't know what you would do here, maybe just, oh man, so close to being good. Maybe I just do this, right? Yeah, that would be totally fine. So now you have armored horse archers, which can out-duel enemy HA in a lot of matchups. So yeah, this would be a completely fine army as well. So one of those 2 armies. Armenia, a decent faction. I don't like how restricted they are, but it just kind of has to be that way. Otherwise, they're just super OP against other factions if you could allow them to either kite or take more cav in general. So it's kind of the only way. I'd say Armenia for me. I'd be happy to have them just because I like the Eastern factions. But not super fun, I would say, just because your army choices are so restricted, which is never great. Alright, next faction is going to be Verine. 3 same infantry, 6 melee max, and 3 chosen swords or oathsworn max. Again, these rules are just to limit their sword power. But Verine is actually, I think, one of the stronger factions. So with 3 good swords max, it's generally going to be 2 oathsworns and a chosen, potentially 3 oathsworn as well. Against factions with bad missiles, naked warriors are a huge option here because they don't count against your good swords. They have 15 bonus. They're highly good on the attack. Celtics are also fine. Then generally it's going to be a noble horse general. If you take 3 oathsworn, it might be oathsworn general. So let's go for that first and just see what you get. It's 3 same infantry. Let's start with Celtics. We can upgrade them to naked swords if we have money. But 3 oathsworn are going to be a very strong sword force. Celtics are great in reserve. You're going to get 4 heavy horse. They only have 11 infantry max, which means you need to get 9 heavy horse or like cav plus missiles, right? So oftentimes it's going to be 4 slingers and 4 cav. But then if you're taking an oathsworn general, you need to take another unit, which pretty much means either a light horse or a dog. I like the dog, so I'll take it for now, but light horse costs exactly the same, so they're completely swappable. And then the rest of your infantry is going to be spears. Chosen spears are a good choice for Verine. But maybe I would just upgrade, like, let's say I upgrade 2 of these guys to naked. It's expensive to do this, obviously, but I can maybe take something like this, pretty good. There we go, even better. Good spears. You know, these mid-tier spears are really important for the barbarians because you're lacking mid-tier swords a lot of the time. Or at least, like, even if I bring a chosen sword, I'm still lacking a lot of mid-tier swords. So then, these mid-tier spears kind of fill the gap with with the naked warriors and the Celtics, they can combine to kill the mid tiers of the opposition, or like the low tiers mainly. Your Oathsworn are going to be doing a lot of mid tier killing. Yeah, I guess you could technically upgrade here, but it makes your money not really work, so that's not gonna matter really. You could go for a chosen sword here and then have a little bit more money left over. Maybe you can get like 2 chosen spears in this case. Not quite. Maybe with a Celtic though. Oh, I have 2. Yeah, you could get like, do this. I have a bit too much money, so I do this, and then I get this. So it depends if you want better spears. I think goats were probably the play here though. Or you go for a noble horse, because now you don't need to bring a dog, right? You bring 5 cav, bring 4 slingers, and now you can bring 11 infantry. Then you can't really do this. Oh, maybe you can. 3 Oathsworns, 3 Celtics, and then 1 or 2 good spears with a buck ton of Levy Freeman just to spam. Not a terrible. Oh no, it's 3 max melee, right? So, or 3 max infantry of the same type, so you can't really do that. Already got 3. 3 Levy Freeman, so that would be actually a bit interesting now. Obviously, the missiles don't count towards that 3 same of infantry. But now I'd be sort of out of luck here. So maybe I would have to go for a chosen in this case. Chosen. Oh, this money kind of stinks. Okay. There we go. And then I could bring maybe almost something like this. Could work. You have better spears, better cav, but worse infantry. So you know, either one can work, depends on what you're facing. But Armenia is a very good faction overall, for sure. I would definitely put them in the seems good category. Definitely would be happy to have them. They're a strong faction, sure. Next up, Bactria, 12 infantry, 7 melee, 12 cav and foot missiles, 6 missile cav and foot missiles, and 3 missile cav. You can either bring 3 missile cav and 3 slingers, or 4 and 2. You have the option, which is nice as Bactria. And 12 total cav and foot missiles, so you can bring a lot, an extra one compared to some other factions. Let's start with the classic 2 and 4. Good thing about Bactria is they can bring Tarentines, or these Bactria and HA, which are really nice because they just give you added missile cav power. And in some matchups that's really nice. 7 melee units, 5 same. I think it was 5 same for Bactria. No, it's only 4 same. So 4 and 3 is pretty much guaranteed there. Bring pikes as well as Bactria, not a problem. And then you're just gonna bring noble horsemen pretty much. 4 same, so you can do this, and then got a bit of money left to decide what you do. So that could be like 2 pikes here. Not a terrible idea at all. It could be citizen cav here as well to play extra cav heavy. It could also be you don't buy any of these, you get like Tarentines here, and then you just buy shitty. Oh, you can't quite do this. Yeah, so you can do this like 1 pike and 1 Eastern Spear, 2 Tarentines, or you can even upgrade all the way to Bactria and Horse Archers. They're very good, very good unit, one of my favorite units in the game. And then just go for 2 spears. So you'd have a lot of low tier fodder, only 4 swords, but your cav force would be insanely strong with an army like this. At the same time, you could also go for 3 Horse Archers, but the slingers cost the same as the Horse, so they're just interchangeable. You could also go Syrians. So Bactria with a really flexible roster, except in everything except for their infantry and cavalry. Like their infantry and cavalry is pretty much always going to be the same: 4 noble horse, the Chen, 4 thorax swords. Maybe you bring in an extra citizen cav or 2. Well, not really 2, but your missile and cav and like HA force is very flexible, which is nice. You can also bring pikes, which can help. You can also bring elephants. And note to people, these 1500 cost elephants are very good, because attack and like charge literally means nothing on an elephant. Everything is coming from the mass. They are different in mass, but these elephants with 1500 are more than enough. And they don't have more armor. They do not have more armor. They have 200 more health, which is nice, but it's not really that big. Like, if you're gonna win, with elephants is because your elephants aren't going to die quickly anyway. Like 200 health shouldn't be a big difference. So I would like to see people bring these elephants. I think you could bring 2 even, but even just 1 is a huge potential option for people to take. Maybe it costs, you know, a bit considering your army here. So, you know, oftentimes this is more of the play. You just take the general, because that way you save 1250 on the Bactrian Rokev. But yeah, don't be afraid to take elephants. They're pretty good in the right matchups, of course. Like there's some matchups where they're just not going to do anything, but in a lot of matchups that can be good. But the ability to take Syrians, the ability to take Peltis, I think we're going to follow the suggestion. I think of it was Soap or someone who said like just don't count Peltis towards missiles. I think that's totally fine. But Peltis are kind of whack in general, but you know, Bactria and Peltis can serve a purpose. You know, you have the option for Javcav, Tarentines, Horse Archers, Bactrian Horse Archers, so many good options. So good flexibility for Bactria. Definitely a fun faction to play. I would say that's probably on the borderline of top 2 here. I'll put them in here for now, but they could easily be up here. Yeah. Yeah, the only downside for Bactria is just the infantry. There's a chance that Bactria might get 5 same, but I don't really want that to happen. I think that's too strong. Because with 5 same, you just bring this and you don't you have so much, like an extra whole melee unit here is super powerful. 4 same forces you to spend your money on other things that are not as clearly good, essentially. But an army like this is just, it's too simple. I don't know if I can take this. Can't quite take that. So I don't know how I would spend the rest of my money on here. Maybe something, but it's just too clearly good to have the 5 thorax. It just makes everything really easy. So I'd hope that 4 same remains key for Bactria, but it might be a little bit too weak. But 5 same was probably a little bit too strong. Anyway, next up is Carthage, and Carthage does have a small change. It's just that instead of the 7th melee infantry being an Iberian sword, it can be an Iberian sword, a Gallic warrior, or a Italian sword. Any of these 3, instead of just an Iberian sword, because Iberian swords are so bad, it wasn't a big enough buff. So Carthage, the problem with Carthage is they have a very clear weakness, which is they don't have cheap missiles, and they don't have good Javcav. You might say, well, like, Numidians have 41 damage, and they're really fast. Like, that's true, but they cost 550. Not good for the cost. They have no melee capability. And the Noble Numidians are a great unit at 1180. Insane melee capability, 41 damage, good armor, excellent mass. So they can do damage after they've used their javelins. They can do insane damage after they've used their javelins. 65 melee attack, like, holy crap, man. Weapon damage, even with 6 AP, is not bad. The problem is they cost 1180, so like they can be shot out of the game by enemy Javcav super easily. And since they don't have, I personally never want to take regular Numidian, so I'm always taking this, and this puts me in trouble because it just costs so much. You have to take this general because you should never take the general's bodyguard. You could take the elephant, I guess, in some cases, but under the new rules, this can be your infantry corps, pretty much always. 3 stem knights, 4 Gallic warriors. Sometimes you'll bring Scutarii in here as well. If you want even better units, Getai are great. And then you again have to spend pretty much on Balearics, so that's going to cost you a lot. Like these 5 units cost you a lot of money for what you're getting, because usually you want to go for cheap slingers and cheapest Javcav possible that can do a job. Of course, your Shotcav general is fine, but yeah, this makes things kind of annoying because you don't have all that much money left to spend after you buy, you know, 3 Carthaginian Cav. Okay, now you're already too poor. So you pretty much have to go for Gallics in order to facilitate some sort of like shitty hoplite spam or something. If you go no Numidian nobles, now okay, you can start to think about bringing like some Scutarii, for example. Now you have a very good infantry corps, and now maybe you just bring 2 regular Numidians. You can even upgrade to a 4th Cav. This doesn't look terrible as well, because now you have very good infantry. Good support with these Libyan hoplites. Not great support, I would say. You still have 3 Balearics to take the missile war with, and you have some good Cav. You can even take Scutarii Cav, which are slightly better than Carthaginian Cav, not significantly. The other option is to go for like a rush, sort of Meliia-esque rush, where you just take like 7 shitty, like cheaper infantry units. Maybe you take a couple of these guys, whatever. And then you just hoplite spam, and maybe like even like an elephant. I don't know, elephant or just like Altus spam would also be good. Maybe more cav actually is probably necessary. Yeah, something like this. And you just straight up rush. You have 4 lancers. These guys are basically a pass. 3 Carthaginian cav, a couple of jav cav. Maybe you don't even take the jav cav. And you have some good infantry. I mean, not great, but sort of okay. And the idea is you just rush with cav. Can be pretty good as well. So Carthage with some good options, but the lack of low tier slingers and the jav cav is kind of annoying. I would say they are kind of squarely in the middle. Take it or leave it. Which is not a terrible place to be, honestly. Next up is Colchis, a pretty fun faction in my opinion. Are they getting changes? Doesn't seem like it. So Getai. They have 12 infantry, 5 plus 2 hillmen for melee infantry, 3 missile cav, and 8 missile cav plus foot missiles. And obviously the main restriction is 13 missiles plus cav. So a pretty good thing overall is that you can get 3 HA and you can still get 5 missiles of some kind. So you could go 4 and an archer, or you could just go 7, I guess, if you want. Then you can have the lancer gen, you have the noble blood cav, so pretty good options. And then melee wise, again it was what, 5 plus 7, yeah, 5. So problem is you're really almost never gonna bring regular axemen because you might as well bring Colchian nobles. So something like this is good. The Colchian nobles are one of the best hoplites in the game, and then you just have to bring some kind of cav. So often will be something like this, with noble blood cav as your sort of main force. And then spearmen. This can be decent. You can also go for like 4 lancers, some armies with less nobles. Maybe you can bring a regular axeman. I hate that though. I'm not sure what exactly you could do, but anyway, you can do a bunch of different things here. Again, maybe just less hillmen or eastern spears. Decent, but yeah, good options for Colchis, I think. Obviously missile dependent, but they're the most kite heavy faction that it's like allowed to kite. So that's kind of a good thing. I mean, you can also take Eastern Archers as well. You could take this, for example. Or even like 2 Horse Archers and 4 Slingers and just go for a full kite. Completely on the cards. I mean, I have a lot of money left even here, so maybe I go for Nobles. Because Nobles are strong. But yeah, something like this is completely viable and very, very strong, honestly, against a lot of factions, maybe even 3 Lancers. 4 pretty strong melee units, 3 Hillmen for supports, 5 Archers, like 2 fucking Horse Archers. This is quite a good army. So yeah, the kite potential is definitely there for Colchis. Problem is you just are stuck with kind of Cartley and no good low tiers, but it's not the worst place to be. Colchis, again, pretty good faction. I think I'd be happy to have that just for the kite potential being so strong. And we move on. Epirus next, second place last year, sir, with Epirus. 5 same, 12 infantry, 6 melee infantry, and 3 missile cav. I mean, the good thing about Epirus is just you can bring a lot of cav. You get the Tarentines, you get your classic Epirate 3 Samnite 3 Italian combo, which is quite strong. And then you can just bring 4 Thessalians. So like, alright, you can even bring 5 Thessalians, right? So 5 Thessalians with this is just a really insanely strong cav force. You spam shitty slingers. You can even just bring militia hoplites here, like whatever. And you have a very potent force because 5 Thessalians is going to get you a lot of good. I think they should probably have just 4 same. I don't know why they get 5 same because they can also take 5 slingers, and it's just like you're in really good shape with 5 slingers here. Even if I go like this and get a Rhodian, I guess it would also be good. But yeah, the 5 Thessalians, a calling card for Epirus. If you don't go 5 Thessalians, you're probably going for more slinger. No, actually, I have to be a little careful here because I can't bring so many cav. And missiles, 13 max, so you do have to be slightly wary of that. So that's kind of my bad. So you can't go that heavy. If you bring a lot of cav, you're probably not bringing a whole lot of slingers, is the deal, I guess. But an army like this even has insane kite potential. This is like a classic Epirite army. Also replace this with a citizen cav. Just have more cav, and then play for the skirmish. So Epirus is very strong because bringing a lot of lancers is always good. Sandknights are great. You can bring Cretans, bring elephants, dogs even in some matchups are good. Pike potential. I mean, just have everything you want except for elite swords. And the fact that you have to bring only 3 mid-tier swords is not great, but a huge problem. So I think if I was going to go 5, then I could bring one more slinger here. So maybe I'll just do this or something. 4 slingers still strong. But if you want to go 3 Tarentines, you can only bring 4 slingers. So I don't know, not the worst. But yeah, I think this is overall very strong. Probably one of the factions I would definitely like to have. I'll put them as, even though the only reason I would not put them in this category is because they got second last year, so people already know that they're strong. But anyway, it would be a great faction to have. Epirus has always been one of my favorite factions. So great. Next up, Galatia. 6 melee, but only 3 Galatian Legionnaires max. A very simple rule set for Galatia. And a faction that has problems, I would say, under these rules. So you definitely take the 3 Galatian legions, of course. These are going to be your core. But the problem is you don't have elite swords, right? So, with our Verine, that can only bring 3 elites, of course, they can bring 3 Oathsworn, and now you're in good shape because Oathsworn kill so much. Galatian Legionnaires are a great unit, but they're not elites. And you have to supplement them with Galatian swords, usually pretty good. You can also bring the naked swords for 480 if you want a little bit more of a punch, but at a risk. You do get the 2 Cappadocian cav with the Noble Horse. This is always going to be the case, and these guys are great, but it's only 3 cav, right? It's limited for sure. Can't use these guys to YOLO really because they're just so valuable on anti-cav duty. 3 Assyrians is a classic. The Horse Skirmishers, they get 3. Oh, okay. I will ask for this change. I think they should just get 3 Javcav. I don't know why they only get 2. Because you just need them as Galatia as anti-cav. Not sure. I remember talking about this, but I'm not sure, like last year, but I'm not sure why we agreed for 2. But anyway, let's assume it's 2 for now. And pretty much you're always going to be buying Galatian noblemen to supplement your melee line. Either 2, if you go like 2 slingers and 2 archers, then you go 2 noblemen maybe. You can't quite do that, huh? Maybe if you're going like 4 slingers or 4 slingers and then Galatian. Not really great. I wouldn't do this. Probably not 2 noblemen. In the end, 1 nobleman and then something like this. 10 short. Fuck me. 6. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. I don't know where I would save this 10. Maybe I would do this or something. Money's just all wrong for this faction. The good builds don't exist necessarily. By 10. This is probably also on the cards. 5 missiles with only 3 spears and the nobleman. Could be good. I think 3 Javcav would just help them a lot. Because then you just bring this, right? And then everything kind of makes sense. 2 good spears, 2 Levy Freemen as fodder, 1 nobleman, 3 Galatian swords. A bit more of a force here. Another option is obviously to take the Galatian Raiders, which can be quite nice to have, but it does cost you a bit, so I'm not sure if that's really always on the cards. You do something like this. Could be pretty decent. Get 2 slingers instead of an archer. And you get a Galatian Raider in there. This is if you can bring 3 Javcav. But yeah, anyway. Good options for Galatia, but limited on cav. If you want to go for 2 Noble Horse, it's possible. You have the money. I don't know if you can really go Nobleman here. If you go Nobleman, probably going Slingers. Which isn't game ending or anything. Probably just going for like this. There you go. This is actually not bad. But 2 Noble Horses kind of whack. 4 Slingers, I prefer the Syrians, obviously. but a decent army. So Galatia is pretty flexible. I do think they should get 3 Jav Cav, but it's not a huge deal, I guess. I'd put them in one of these two guys. I'll put them at the front. It seems good. It would be fun. I've already had them, which probably also reduces my desire to play them again, but good faction. Next up is Getai, 5 melee plus 2 Falksmen and 3 Missile Cav. One of the most interesting factions, I think, Getai. Because they're a barbarian faction that has HA. Like, that's super powerful, and they have really good peltists. Both peltist options are really nice. And really good archers for 440. Shitty Cav, but heavy Cav for 550 is actually pretty decent. They aren't killing anything in terms of melee, but they are killing things in terms of their mass, which is pretty nice. They have these noble horsemen, which 60 armor, 100 health doesn't fill you with great anything really. But if you look at this, 60 armor, 95 health for the Bactria and Royal Cav. Again, nothing else, no other stats really matter. If you want to look at 76 charge, sure, these guys have only 63 charge, but they have the same mass, so the charge is not really hugely impacted by this. If you look at the Pontic Royal Cav, 60 armor, 100 health. Epeius Lancers, 60 armor, 100 health. So they're on par with the other Lancers. The problem is they cost a bit more, right? So these guys have 70 armor, the comps. That's very nice for Macedon. What else has? Hellenic Royal Cav, 60 armor, 100 health. So they're on par, and they're cheaper than Hellenic Royal Cav. They're cheaper than Companions. They're cheaper than all these other options. So that's actually quite good. 1200, I guess, is pretty close for the Pontic Royals. Oh, these guys are like, well, these guys plus 1270, so they're cheap. They're more expensive than the Pontic Royals. So they're on par with the, but they're on par. So they're pretty much the same as your Companions, Bactria, and Royal Cav. So that's actually a very nice option for a barbarian faction, right? But they still don't really get the same support, right? Because Bactria, Pontus, all these factions have insanely good cavalry, whereas Getai does not have really the same. So spending 1300 on the shot cav, it's a good general option for sure. 3 bow horse always gonna be nice. The problem for Getai is your spears do not have javelins, right? So you need to make up for that somehow. It makes your anti-cav a lot weaker. But bow horse are really nice. Bow horse are great. Archers are really good. They have 30 armor, which is nice. And really good accuracy, which just makes them better. I can't really say if it actually affects their accuracy, but it looks like they hit more, so I guess it's like good. Pretty tough to say what the deal is there. They have the noble swords, which are great. Cost 80 armor, 65 health, 70 morale. I mean, if you compare that to like an Oathsworn, same thing, right? They're gonna suffer a little bit more on the weapon side. I mean, on the attack side, 43 attack compared to 48 attack, 69 to 35, 69, 35, 69. So slightly better charge, one better charge, slightly worse defense, slightly worse attack. So they're worse than Oathsworn, but they also cost a little bit less. It's a very good unit overall, though. So this is nice to have, the noble swords. They also have the axe warriors. The typical army will be like 3 noble swords, 2 axe warriors, and 2 falksmen. Falksmen, a super good unit. They don't get shot. They're really good against cav, so that can help you in the anti-cav department. But 11 melee defense, 10 armor. Of course, they're gonna die very quickly. But these weapon damage with the extra AP has like 10 or 15 AP, 14 base AP on the weapon itself. Bonus versus, 10 or 15 bonus versus large, sorry, on the Falks. So these guys are quite nice as a support unit. Of course, weak to missiles. But you have your own archer force. You can bring some cav, and then you can just bring some spears or something. Maybe like archers is probably more standard. I can't really afford this. So there's options here, but it's usually a bit odd. So yeah, it'd probably be this, 2 Spear Warriors. Spear Warriors are a great unit, by the way. 65 armor, 50 health, 61 defense for 300. They will kill Levy Freeman, even though they don't have javelins. The Spears, on the other hand, are pretty bad. But yeah, Getai can do some interesting things. They can also, again, they can go for Peltis and stuff too. They can even bring like 6 Peltis or something. Kind of out there type of army, but like a rush army, for example. And then maybe 5 Peltis or something. I have 4 noble swords here, so that's obviously costing me quite a bit of money. Like this could be really interesting. I'm not bringing bow horse, I guess, in this case. Which I might want to do. Maybe I'd go for less cav and get the 2 bow horse. Maybe afford this. Not quite. But anyway, there is options. Maybe I'll just go this so I can get better spears. I don't know. Lots of options here. But Getai, pretty interesting faction. Definitely would like to see them do something in the tournament for once. I think they have like really nice variability to be able to go for different options. So they're interesting. They're one of the factions that I want to play just because I feel like they have so much untapped potential. So they're actually up at the top for me, even though I don't think they're the greatest faction. They have really interesting combinations of units that I think warrant some sort of investigation. So I'd definitely be interested in seeing them played at a high level. So Getai definitely up there for me. Let's see how long this has been. 40 minutes already. Holy fuck. All right, but we're almost done. We're not almost done. We're not even close to almost done. Holy fuck. All right, we can maybe speed up a little bit. Iini next. 5 units, 5 same, 5 plus 2 infantry. Another faction I really like. Um, good sword spam potential because you can get 5 mid tiers, even maybe 4 plus a noble sword. Get some sword band up in there. Got really good slingers. Decent heavy cav. Pretty bad mid tier cav, only because they have shitty armor. But this is a good combo. Ready? And they can just spam whatever, you know. Decent. They have these chosen spear band, which are pretty good as well. The mid tier range. And they also have the painted ones. Painted ones are great because they have scare. This is a pretty good army. Good balance. Another thing that you can do is just not even go for slingers. This is one thing that I think is actually quite strong for this faction, is to just go infantry heavy. Thing like this, get to sword band, and just go dogs against factions that will try to skirmish against you. Because then you can just rush, and you have really good infantry that most factions can't really handle. And then you just get like 5 cav. Don't worry about your own slingers, because if you bring slingers, you have to defend them. And your cav is not really up for that kind of challenge, so you just fucking don't even worry about them. You bring 4 dogs or 3 dogs or something, and you just fucking full send with a rush build, basically. And that can actually be quite strong. So that can be really good. Even 4 dogs, honestly, fuck it. Like this seems like a really strong army. Deal with their HA, deal with a couple of their missile units with dogs, and you can just win the game with your better infantry corps. And your 5 veteran riders, as long as you're not getting shot at, will be kind of okay because they are heavy. So that's decent. I think I'm putting them in very much want only because of the dogs. I really want to try dog meta, but they're a bit weak to missiles. It's a bit too weak, honestly, but still a decent faction for sure. Kush is just dog shit, to be honest, and there's just nothing we can do. I mean, obviously very good against melee factions, but just hopeless against any sort of missiles. 5 same, 12 infantry, 6 melee, 2 elite swords max. I mean, the problem is not your infantry. Your infantry is going to be fine. You can bring whatever sort of infantry you kind of want. But the problem is you have really shitty missiles, no Jav Cav, and pretty fucking shitty cab as well. So you're just ending up dying in the cab department, and you don't really have much to make up for it. But this is a classic Kush army, but no matter what you do, I mean, people were trying to bring like 3 of these cav, maybe like 2, and then 2 swordsmen or something. You like don't really care about your melee because you're gonna do fine in the melee department again. It's not really the problem. These Kushite Railguard are actually a great unit, but Elite Melee Cav are just so bad in general. Like, it's just such a bad unit type to bring that just really hurts overall. And now, I don't know, you could bring, like, I already have, what, 11? So I could technically go Pikes here and just play for Elites. But you're going to lose the Missile War, and then your Cav is going to be insufficient. You also have to deal with HA. Kushite Slave Spear with their 80 range do help in that department, but not a faction I would want in any circumstances, pretty much. Playing without HA in Rome 2 is just AIDS, especially if you don't have good missiles. In a sense, like, maybe it's okay that you don't have good missiles, because your missiles are going to die, they're horse racers at some point, because you don't have good cav, but it's just hard to rush in this game when your stuff is so fragile. So Kush, hard faction. Lusitani next, 6 aim, 12 infantry, 6 melee, 4 missile cav. Lusitani, decent faction. Oh, actually 6+1. terms of infantry. So Lusitania will be going 5 veteran shield warriors. Oh, they don't have. Oh, they have 6 same. Yeah, so 6 melee. So 5 veteran shield warriors plus the Lusitania noble. Get an Iberian sword support, and then pretty much, you know, it's kind of the same as our Vasi. You're gonna go either like heavy Balearic spam. The problem is you don't have cheap spears, right? So you're kind of expensive to do that. So maybe you're going for this. Then you're just gonna have to bring the Getai cav, which are a decent cav unit, actually one of the more underrated cav units. And then with your 1600 left, it's gonna be some mix of Cantabrians, Getai spears probably. Maybe you can bring like, one less slinger. Yeah, probably one less slinger to get a Lusitania gorilla again, help in the anti-cav department. Could go, you know, you could try to get more cav if you want. Like this could work, 5 cav. But overall, it's just tricky because you have such a weakness to missiles, and then you have no cheap like fodder units as well, which are always good, which means it's just expensive. Everything's expensive. Your cheapest spears cost 400. Your Jav cast costs 500. Just Cav costs almost 700 for a pretty bad unit. That cost, I mean, they're heavy. Or no, they're only medium. Okay, that explains a lot. Yeah, they're only medium. So it's tough life out there. They don't have the same kind of stats as the Celtiberians, in my opinion. Just weaker stats than the Celtiberians. Not significantly though. The Lusitania, obviously, good if you can play with your missiles. Their way you can go is try to go for like Balearic spam, like 3 Balearics, and just win the missile war at all costs. I need to get one more shield here. And then, I mean, I have enough money to get, you know, even like this, or I don't know. Can I do this? Not quite. Tabarins, obviously. Yeah, so you're just 10 short from a good army. Here, if I can get another Lusitania gorilla. Yeah, I just do this anyway though. Don't play with any Javcav, kind of fine actually. 3 Balearics. And win the missile war this way so that your veteran shields aren't threatened. And then from there you can kind of just chill. This is honestly a decent army. So yeah, Lusitania, okay. But not too happy with it overall. Just hard to play again when you have such big weaknesses. It's easy to exploit. Maston, I think Maston is one of the most underrated factions in this tournament because they have 6 SAME, 7 melee infantry. Like 6 SAME is like utterly ridiculous in this tournament. Like nothing really comes close to it. Because you can literally take like, you take 6 slingers. Like you just take 6 slingers, sure. Not that you would really even do that necessarily, but like in some matchups. Like imagine this army against Kush. Like what? You just full skirmish. Like you literally just full skirmish against Kush. I have 13 cav and infantry, which is allowed. I got 7 melee. Like, this is an insane army. Obviously, I wouldn't take this against factions that have Jav cav, but, like, the ability to take this is just fucking stupid. Like, this army will win so many games. You have such good cav and such good slingers. Like, they're not good slingers, but they're just 6 cheap slingers. What? And then you have 7 melee. Like, this army, like, Maston in general, okay, even if we take slightly more serious army, like, 5 Thessalians and a companion, maybe I get 2 Jav cav now. I don't even need to take 2 Tarentines, but I'll make it work with 2 Tarentines. And then maybe I take a Thurial Spear or something here, or like even a Citizen Cut. No, I can't take a Citizen Cut. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a Thurial Spear. This is really good because you still have 6 Shock Cav with your Companion General. Now you have some Tarentines to back up. 5 Slingers, so still a lot of Slingers. Less good melee because you have a Thurios instead of a Thorax, but sure, it's good support. But now you have 2 Jav Cav, right, which is more realistic against enemy factions that also have Jav Cav. But if I take only Duration Cav, which are worse, I can still get 7 melee, right? So this is like extremely strong. Maybe I can take 1 Tarentine. There you go, 1 Tarentine and 1 Duration Cav, even better. So my Jav Cav are a bit weaker, but this is insane. So Maston actually super underrated faction. They can also take pelts, they can also take Cretans, they can also take like whatever the fuck pikes. Like the only thing they don't have is like cheap melee, and even their cheap spears are kind of expensive. But great faction overall. I think this is CoN winning type of faction for sure. Just that nobody's had a good enough time with it yet to show that it's like super OP. But I think it is super OP basically. So yeah, I think that's definitely in the very much want just because I think the rules are so favorable. Numidia, the change for Numidia might be 4 legions max. Either 4 legions max or, and then potentially like 6 melee. So like 4 legions plus 2 light infantry allowed. If 4 legions and 1 light infantry is too weak. But Numidia is great because you can bring Pelta spam and you can bring legion spam. Let's take it as 4 legions max right now. I'm gonna take it as 4 plus 1. This is like the weakest. This is the weakest possible rule set for Numidia. 4 legions, 1 light infantry. But you get the 2 armored Numidian cav. You've good chariot and elephant options. The 1400 elephants again are really strong. Like if you, what faction has 1416 Carthage? Right? Look at Carthage's options. Look, they're the same fucking unit, bro. They're literally the same unit. Don't be fooled by the men because there's 9 elephants in both units. Okay, sure, your attack is higher. Attack does not matter for elephants. These elephants are heavy elephants. These elephants are heavy elephants. They have 5 more health. 5 more health. Who cares? They don't even have more armor. Like, this shit is the same unit. Never bring the 1600 elephants. Just bring the 1400 elephants every time. Numidia can do that. These Numidian Jet Cav are really great. You have Shock Cav that are heavy for 690. Of course, they only have 40 armor, but don't be fooled by that, really. Because the Salians, heavy Shock Cav, 40 armor, 90 health. These guys, 40 armor, 90 health, heavy. So these guys are basically Thessalians. Again, maybe they don't have some of the other stats of Thessalians, like, let's see, 67 charge, 40 attack. Yeah, and that's the only stats that really matter, to be honest. 42 attack, 60 charge. Charge is not that relevant for Shock Cab. It's all about the mass, in a lot of cases. So these guys are basically Thessalians that are significantly cheaper, 50 talents cheaper. So these guys are really, really good. They added lots to your Cav force. You have the Armored Desert Cav that are kind of shitty for 580. You can bring these Gaetuli Horse Skirmishers for 380 that are really great. 41 damage, super fast. Guerrilla deploy if you don't want to bring the Armored Minion Cav. You want to be investing more on your infantry. But on these rules with only 4 legions, you probably do want to bring the Armored Minions in most cases. And then you just bring fodder like Slingers and maybe these Armored Minion Spears. Visualize. You don't go Slingers because they think they're trash, which is kind of true. You can just bring Vigilate spam. Maybe you can upgrade this to a cohort. Well, not quite, I guess. But whatever. Yeah, so Numidia great because the Peltists are just double up as melee units basically after they use their javelins. So you have good anti-cav, you have good cav, decent infantry. You don't have a lot of infantry, but you make up for the fact that you have 4 Peltists. The only thing is that if you take the Peltists, you have to rush because you don't have Slingers, but you have good potential for a rush. So very good faction. Numidia is great. If you get 2 light infantry, you're in business because now you have an extra shit tier unit, which can kill. Numidia lights are great units. They're better than Celtics, worse than Galatian swords, but right in the middle there. So yeah, very nice. Galatia, or sorry, Numidia would be up there. S tier faction, very much want it for sure. I actually had Numidia like 4 cons ago when Oleg won with Rome. But I changed to Carthage. Big mistake. I think the rules were less good for Numidia than they are now. But I think there also just wasn't as well known that Numidia is just like super strong at that time. Alright, moving on to Meliia. I mean, I won the con last year with this faction, so I'm not gonna put it super high, but I'll quickly go through what's up with Meliia. Basically, you have 2 options, actually 3 options. One is the super rush, where you take like 3 Massilian Cav, 4 Lancers, 3 Jav Cav. I forget how many of these you take. I think it's 4 and 2. So you only have 6 melee, yeah. And then on Massilian hot plate. I mean, I might even have it saved. Meliia Cav attack. I don't know. Meliia. I don't know. Whatever. But you can watch my grand finals video from last year, and you can prove to yourself that this shit's like super OP. You don't bring Celtic Slingers because you don't need them. Maybe I had one I had 1 Thorax. That's what I had. It's like this, I think. And then 3. And then. I don't know. What. I definitely had 4 Lancers. I probably had 3 to 4 Massilian Cav. Maybe it was this. Yeah, it probably was this. 3 Levy Frame. Yeah, this is right. And you double chevron 1 axe. So this is a good cav attack. You could also go for balance build. I mean, you can have my kite armies here. You can kite with Meliia, which is cool. 4 lancers, good infantry units, good jav cav, 6 missiles, very nice. You can also go for chevron axes. These guys are better than thorax swords, although they're a bit more vulnerable to cav and missiles because they're only medium and they have a bit less health. 5 less health. But these guys with the silver chevrons actually fuck, because high attack axes means you hit a lot, and you hit that AP a lot. 13 AP on these guys. So that's very nice. And you have 3 Maston hoplites also. So basically you have 7 good melee units. You can also go for, like, this sort of spam. This is like an imp spam, where you basically have 9 good melee units. You can even go for this if you really want, although this might get really costly really fast. Maybe I'll go bronze. Yeah, like this would be like an imp spam where literally all of your melee units are strong in melee. You have slinger support, good cav support. Missile cav are great for the cost. Bad against missiles with only 35 armor, but in melee they can kind of own. And then you have 3 Tarentines, so this is a good army. So Meliia, very flexible, good options. Can cav spam, which is always just strong. So I'm not gonna want Meliia obviously, because I just played them in the last con, but they're actually up here. Just, I don't really want them. So, one of those examples of just personal bias, but for everyone else that hasn't played them, definitely good. Next up, Nabatea. This faction is annoying as fuck. 5 save, 13 infantry, 6 melee. The problem with Nabatea is you just don't have good cav, or you don't have HA, sorry. The camel archers suck dick. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the good thing is you have really good cav with the armored camel spears and Nabatea nobles and the desert heavy lancers. These guys really nice. 95 health is insane. Again, how much do those Sicilians have? Compare with them. 90 health only, so plus 5 health, and also with the Persian cav, 95 health. So yeah, they're basically Persian cav. They do cost a bit more, which kind of sucks. But they're very nice. Nabatea Noble Cav are basically Cappadocians, so they're also very good at 800, so really good price point. Problem is your infantry just suck. Like, your infantry are terrible. The only good infantry you have are the armored desert hoplites, but then again, they're hoplites, so not really great. But you can even, I probably still have my Nabatea stuff, like, saved. By the end of the tournament, though, I wasn't really using these builds. I was using, let's see, right, Nova 5? Yeah, I was using this. Spamming, you want these heavy archers. The heavy archers are clutch as fuck. The armored desert hoplites in support with axe warriors actually gives you some capability there. Pikes are good to screen against the elites because you can't really kill elite units. And then swordsmen. You have to deal with the enemy Javcav though, which is really frustrating. So you can use the swords to kind of do that. The swords are really bad in melee, man, even at 450. So that's good. You can also go for a full kite, which can work, but you don't have Javcav, which is a bit weird. But you get a cataphract in there. Get a good amount of infantry. You get 4 archers and 3 slingers. Actually, this wouldn't be allowed anymore, unfortunately. So it'd have to be like this. And then, I don't know what you do with the rest of your money, but something like this, whatever. I don't know. Shitty fucking... 350. Yeah, you can't really do anything with 350, huh? Maybe if you go like this, you can get a pike. But anyway, the idea is you just kite with the 4 archers and your slingers, and you have all the cav. These armored desert cav are not super useful, but you use them to screen against the enemy jav cav, basically, while your other good cav actually do the cav work. So this can work, but yeah, Nabatea, because they don't have jav cav, and because their mid tiers or like their swords melee units are so bad, sorry, they're bad, and you don't want them. Nervi 6 melee, 4 good melee if your swords are Oathsworn, 3 missile cav. Nervi are fine. I mean, they're just like any other barb with a bit more flexibility, but a bit worse units, kind of. So the good thing is you can even go 4 Oathsworn if you really want. Do this, you get Jav cav, which is very useful. You bring the cheap slingers around for the ride, and you can just spam or something. 6 melee infantry max, so I might as well do that. I think a lot of people were bringing something like this, where you don't have great cav, only 3 mighty horse, but you do have insanely strong melee force, good jab cav, and good support with the light freeman. The naked spear is super good if you get them into cav fights. Don't get them charged because they're light, but if they get into fights, they're insane with their 25 bows, which is large, and cavalry counter tactics and frenzy charge. Celtic slingers, good support, so that's an option. There's also like more typical would be like probably want a bit more cav. Let's say you bring 3 and 1 fierce sword, 2 Celtics, 3 jab cav. This might get expensive. I guess with a double cav general, maybe not. So maybe I'll take a sword gen. Like this. And now you have 4 cav, 3 oath sword with 1 fierce sword instead of 4 oaths. And it just allows you to get more balance. 4 cav is nice. I don't think they have 5 same. They do not. You can also bring Gallic Hunters if you want better missile units. Totally fine. But now you can get some Spear Bros in there. Or even like in their Naked Spear, whatever. This is quite decent as well. If you want to bring a Noble Cav, like, you can go for like Fierce Swords spam, basically. 4 Fierce Swords, 2 Celtics. People were doing this, like the Chinese players were doing this, like Cav spam, rush type of deal. I don't even think they were bringing Jab Cav. They were bringing... And then just like full out YOLO rush like this, right, like this. Maybe even like bring Naked Swords for the ride, for that scare. Oh, they don't even have scare. Sad. And like this. I think they have 12. Do they have 12 infantry? No, they only have 11, so you couldn't quite do this. I would probably do this. Full rush, pretty decent because you have good cav. Can't work as well. So Nervi has good options. I'd put them probably squarely in the... Seems good. The problem is their cav is not great. The Mighty Horse are only medium, so against cav factions, against kites can be a little risky. That's why people are taking this like cav rush with the Noble Horse. But Noble Horse are also not great. But the thing, the ability to have jab cav is super powerful. So that's good for them. Parthia, one of the weirdest rule sets. So basically 12 infantry, 6 melee, 5 cataphracts plus Parthian swords, and 3 cata max with 11 cav and foot missiles. So they're super nerfed. Problem with Parthia is basically like you get a royal kata, let's say, you can only get 3 katas. If you get 3 katas, you get 2 Parthian swords only, right? So let's say you go for that. 3 katas, 2 Parthian swords. Maybe you get 2 horse archers, as usual. Maybe a couple of noble blood cav to fill out their cav ranks. The problem is you don't have the option of Persian cav or Cappadocians like Armenia does, right? So your cav force is significantly weaker. You do have 1 extra cataphract compared to Armenia, however, which is nice. You get the 2 shitty horse archers, but their horse archers are good. Bring only 11 cav and foot missiles, right? So if I bring 5 cav and 2 horse archers, I can only bring 4. I can bring 4 slingers, right? So not terrible. Good missile force. But now, what do I do for infantry? I can bring hillmen, okay. But pretty much I'm forced to bring fucking mercenary hoplites. Like this would be my army a lot of the time. And these guys just suck, man. They just suck. Maybe I can upgrade these guys to Parthian Foot if I want. A great unit. More killing power. Maybe I need to kill faster because I know my mercenary hoplites aren't going to kill shit. But Slinger is also fine. You know, armored horse archers potentially you can bring as well. Parthian horse archers, which there's no point, or the Sarmatians. But yeah, there's options here. Maybe you go 1 less cataphract in order to have a little more killing power. Then you go for 3 noble bloods because noble bloods are still decent. But now you just have a lot of money that you can't really spend. So I'm not sure that's super great. I mean, maybe you would just do this anyway. 3 hoplites, 3 Parthian swords. I don't know where you save your money. Maybe you get a Median cav or something. Fine. Weaker cav, better infantry. I think you're Parthia, right? You gotta stick to your guns and go triple kata. 2 Parthian swords. And just suffer the fact you have to bring hoplites. But you get 4 hillmen, which is really nice to have 4 shit tiers. Even if they're just hillmen. It will do a lot of work for you. And then was it this and then 2 noble bloods. Right, like this is a decent army. Can't lie. So Parthia, decent enough, but the options are limited. Still put them here with Armenia as a decent faction. Next up, over the hour mark, but only have 3 more factions, 4 more factions, so shortly we'll be done. Pontus. 12 infantry, 6 melee, 12 cav and foot missiles. Warnable Blood or Cappadocian's max. No problem. Pontus is an excellent choice. 6 melee, so you can do whatever you want, but was it 4 Kappas max? Sure, so let's just bring 4 for now. I don't even know if you would necessarily do this. Pontus is one of the factions that can basically play on less funds. Because their shit's just so good. You know, 6 melee, I mean, we'll buy the 4 and 2 for now. This can obviously upgrade to Naked Sword for really cheap. Buy an extra one of these guys. This is the good thing with Pontus. You're going to get, with that 12 foot missiles plus cav, you can get the extra shock cav, and now you have 6 good cav, really decent missiles, with the Eastern Slingers and stuff. Or you go maybe like this, and you bring 5 slingers, very, very strong, and then maybe you just go pikes or something. Or Thurios Spears, would also be fine. You can also go for like Broad Shield spam instead. Not quite well. Yeah. This. Even if I could do this or something. No, I can't do that. It's not allowed. Okay. Broad Shields. I'm not sure what I would do with the rest of my money. Maybe regular pikeman. Now you have good pike force. You can play behind that with 4 slingers, decent cav, good HA. Not bad option as well. Bronze shields are pretty good, but they're pikes, so you know, do it at your own risk, I guess. But yeah, Pontus has pretty flexible options. You also have the Pontic Peltus for pretty cheap with 41 damage, pretty decent. But your cav force is gonna be super strong. The 12 cav plus foot missiles. I think it's more than Bactria, right? It's the same. Yeah, it's the same as Bactria. So good option, similar to Bactria. Better infantry. Yeah, better infantry. Maybe slightly worse cav. Can't bring 3 HA. I don't know. Probably seems like an upgrade on Bactria to me personally, so I will put them up here. I mean, your infantry is like technically better, but thorax swords are actually better than Pontic swords, right? So it's like you have better low tiers because Celtics are great, Nakeds are great, but you have worse mid tiers. Even if they're only thorax swords, they're just straight up upgrades over Pontic swords. So that's the trade-off, I guess. But Pontus seems like an upgrade. Definitely want to have them on faction. Next up is Roma, a faction that I won the CoN with 2 years ago. Rome has interesting rules. There's some discussion about changing the rules. I don't really think I want to change the rules for Rome, but there's options. Basically, Rome has 3 same, kind of like our Verine, 6 melee, 3 good swords, 660 or more, 3 elite missile units, which are Balearics or Syrians, so they can't really kite, which is fine, and 3 Numidians max. The good thing about Rome is basically that, yes, you only have 3 good swords, so it's going to be like Avocadi and Veteran Legionnaires most of the time. But the Hastati are really good. The Hastati are a great unit. And they can kill like pretty much anyone's low tiers. And then your Veteran Legionnaires can focus, and Avocadi can focus on the mid tiers. You have Triarii, which aren't great for the cost, but they will kill low tiers also. And hold against mid tiers, or even elites by going into square. And they have these Saki Equite Extraordinarii. This unit is like super underrated, man. 60 armor, 100 health, so they are literally Hippeus Lancers for 840 with worse charge bonus, which again doesn't matter at all. These guys are super good. And then you bring the 3 Syrians, very high killing potential. Balearics, I didn't take Balearics almost ever because I just felt like they would never get to the end game because like Rome's cav is so sus that like a lot of times these archers are just gonna die. So better to use the Syrians that can just kill fast and kill high value targets really quickly. And then they have these Equites for 500, which are really great, and almost never take Saki Equites anymore. Like, Equites suck, but they cost only 500, so like, whatever, bro. They just run it up and die, but they only cost 500, so they're dying for a good cause. And then you bring 2 minions or something, because you kind of have to, and then you can do this. The proposed rule change was basically like 5 infantry max, but like 4 legions or something. I think it was that, like 4 legions but 5 infantry, or like maybe even just 5 legions, but probably 4 plus 1. But this seems better to me, it just seems more balanced. The Triarii help. So everyone on the Roman army is doing a little bit of something. The biggest problem is that you have to bring this fucking Legatus, like, really does absolutely nothing every game because it's half a unit with terrible stats. So you're basically down a unit, but you make up for it with quality across the board everywhere else, except for like the Equites and the minions, I guess. But yeah, Rome, very good. I wouldn't want it, obviously, just because I had recently. Also, the 1400 elephants and the dogs. Again, if you want to just rush, just don't even take the Syrians and just rush. That's super viable. Don't doubt it. 450 for dogs against factions that have good missiles is super worth it. If these dogs get into 1 or 2 missile units and just kill them, they're making their money back, and they don't require protection, right? So your infantry and your cav can just focus on killing enemy infantry. So that's also very viable. Something I didn't really try because the dogs are a bit risky, but they're very good if used in the right situations. But yeah, I wouldn't personally want Rome because I already had them recently. But they're actually like I would say here or here, top 2 tiers. But I'm gonna put them in don't want just because again I had them recently. All right, 2 more factions then. Next up, Swaby made the final 2 years ago when I had Rome, and they are very good. 4 missile cab, 12 infantry, and 6 plus a club levy in terms of melee. So Swaby, I mean, you know, they're a classic fast charge faction. You're probably gonna bring a couple of noble horse. You're gonna get the 4 scout riders unless you don't really feel like you need it, but it is helpful to kill cav. Your key is the Wodenaz. You probably want to bring 4 of them. And you don't really need good melee units. Like maybe you take 1 Swordmaster, but then you can take, you know, Club Levy, Bloodsworn, whatever, pretty much. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 7. Yeah, with a Club Levy. Then you can just take some shitter spears. Perfectly fine. Maybe you should go only 3 Wodenaz. You can actually get some like archers, which can be useful just to shoot key targets. And you don't have any cheap spears, so maybe a mix is more common. Let's see. I can get a berserk. I can't really get a berserk. But the way I would play is go for like, I mean, if you've watched my famous Swaby video, then you know that I would take a completely different army. I would go for 4 Wodenaz. I'd just dominate with the archers, and I'd go for like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Bloodsworn, 4 Bloodsworn, Claw Levy, something like this, and then I don't know. I have a lot of money left over. I have no clue what I would do with this. Maybe this or something. Maybe I'd try to go for like a berserker. And then this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7. Something like this could be really good. Maybe I go for like 2 noble cav. I don't know if I can really get a noble sword in this case, so maybe I'll just stick with berserker and get some club of you and bloodsworn. But these 4 Wodenaz are super good. Archers are super good. You have good cav protection with the 4 Germanic scouts, and you can play to fast charge in good areas. So Swaby, I would definitely love to play Swaby in the CoN. They're not as strong as they were in like the Total War League World Cup, because there you could bring 6 Jav Cab and you just have more flexibility in general. But you can pretty much bring the same idea, just a little bit weaker without so many Jav Cab. And again, some factions they're just dead. But I mean, I don't know, the way that the Chinese players were playing Swaby in that, I think it was Hotplate, yeah, Hotplate that I played in the final of the CoN 2 years ago, was just straight up fast charge, and just like, I think he was bringing 2 noble horse, 4 these guys, like 3 slingers, 4 Wodenaz, 4 spear wall, and then the club levy, which is probably his army, and literally he would just fast charge the club levy and the Wodenaz and just kill everything, because you're super fast. Your spear wall are just really good at holding the line with their 81 defense, so they're not gonna kill anything, but they can just hold other units at bay while your fast charge gets kills. Got the 4 Jav Cavs on the No Riders, whatever. Super good. We only had 3 of these guys, and he brought like 2 these guys. Yeah, I think this is actually what he did. A bit stronger in terms of melee, more fast charge units. You probably don't need 4 spear wall. It seems a bit excessive. But yeah, this is very strong. Would recommend, sure. Just fast charge it straight up. Just don't give a fuck. Most people can't handle that shit. And since Cav is generally a little bit more nerfed, then you can actually get away with it. If people don't know what they're doing. So Swaby very strong, as I said before. Finally, Tillis. There's a small change for Tillis, which is that there's probably gonna be max 2 oaths. Because so the rules for Tillis are 6 melee, but 3 good melee infantry, and people would just, I mean, they would just win. I guess I don't really know. People were saying it's too OP. I don't really think that's the case, but like. They were just going like this, I guess. Maybe Thracian warriors in there. Bring some fucking slingers. Bring the 4 Jav Cav. And then they would just kind of, I don't even know, like spears? Peltis? Something like that. Apparently this is like really strong. I don't know. granted, like you have 3 Oathworn, you have pretty decent support, good spears, peltis, javcav, everything you want. I don't think this is too OP. But the idea is to give them 4 Oathworn, so they have to bring, or 2 Oathworn, sorry, so they have to bring a tribal warrior as their third good sword unit. And now you have to think more about what you're doing with the rest of your money. Do you want to go peltis spam? Maybe something like this. And I don't know. Maybe you go like this. You can go 4 good spears. Like this is decent, right? Now you have more money invested in your spears and peltis. Or you go like 2 noble horse maybe. 2 Oathworn, tribal, peltics, 4 slingers, 1 spears. Maybe you get some peltis in there instead. I don't know. Like whatever, you could do what you want. But yeah, it makes the options a bit more interesting. But I'm not sure Tillis really needed to change. Obviously, Tillis has like almost no mobility besides her Javcav. Oathworn are slow. Tribals are good, but regular Oath, like 3 Oathworn, is pretty slow compared to the rest of your army. So there's weaknesses for Tillis for sure. But overall, I'd still say they're a fun faction. If you like to box, pretty much, I would be fine with them just because I think they're good. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Maybe there will be some other changes that I'm not aware of, but this is pretty much what I think so far. Registration is looking good for the con. I think we have like almost 60 people already, so that's great. If you haven't signed up, again, recommend that you do it. And yeah, I think so. My tier list for myself would look like this. I think pretty much this would be like the the strength tier list, and that's pretty good. Like most of the factions are good. There's like 6. Like I would say like these factions aren't unbalanced. They're just not super fun. These 4 factions I think are the problematic factions, and these guys are just not in it or reserves or whatever. So that's pretty good. Like only a few people are gonna get screwed over, I think. I mean, if I get Kush, man, I'm just gonna be pissed. Like that's just gonna suck. But you know, the thing with Kush and Nota is like they're actually good against some factions. They just really suck against other factions. So I don't know. Should they be in the con? I don't know. I feel like if we remove like 3 or more factions, it's just like we're not playing with like half the factions, and it's kind of sucks. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. And again, I would want to play these 2 factions. I just don't like playing factions I've already had in the con because like it's boring. But yeah, I think this puts us in a really good spot. So hopefully, it'll be a good Cup of Nations and everyone will get what they want. But that never happens. So it's more about making do with what you have than getting what you want. But anyway, hope this was interesting. I'll have more Cup of Nations content on the way, obviously. Yeah, if you have questions about the tournament, feel free to message me. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.